The other company? I was with you for one.
Good morning, everyone. We're gonna start our July 22nd Economic Growth and Development Committee meeting. Call it to order.
Actually, weather's.
And at 10:15 a.m. First action is seeking approval of our June 24th meeting minutes. We have a first by Mr. Bean and a second by Ms. Turner. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor of approving them, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Any public comment? Go into our action agenda with two requests. One is to establish a capital account for bikeway crossing improvement project. That's for $500,000, Ethan?
Correct.
Want to talk about that at all?
Sure, that's just follow up, last committee meeting, we authorized the sign of an agreement with the New York State DOT for the Make the Connection program. They were funding intersection improvements or road crossing for the Warren County Bikeway crosses, travel things. With that authorization of the agreement, we also need to have the capital account established for which we can conduct the project.
And what were the crossings again?
I believe it's Sanford, Country Club Road. I'll be honest, I can't remember all of them off the top of my head.
So
But
state
they were
grant, but not necessarily state road crossings.
not all state road crossings, but they were prioritized based on our engineers that we have consulting on the project. So we didn't pull them out of a hat, that's what I'm trying to say.
Somebody would like to make a motion to bring this, Mr. Well, breaking up first. Mr. Cressida on the second. Discussion?
Is there a match with this?
Nope, no, it was actually done via two different DOT programs. So the AGFTC, Aaron Frankfeld and Jack Mance were really instrumental in like understanding our needs and then connecting two different programs together to offset the local match. So it was a really nice move from our Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Jeff?
Other discussion? Call the question. All in favor of approving request number one, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that carries into number two, scheduling a public hearing for the purposes of submitting community development block grant funding requests.
So this is, it's a little bit out of order. In the typical sequence of applying for grants, generally we get authorization to submit a grant application and then we do the public hearing. However, the New York State hasn't released this program yet. It's anticipated to be released next month, the NOFA or Notice of Funds Available. But a prerequisite for any CDBG programs to hold a public hearing. But the way the county schedule works is like you have a committee meeting, then the Board of Supervisors meeting to establish the meeting, and then we wait another month to actually hold the meeting. So in order to hit, I think it's a September deadline for application, we have to start that process now, and we will come back to this committee. It should be next month or the month after. It should be next month. I anticipate the funding will be released and we'll be able to have authorized for submission of the application. This is sort of follow up to some of our other housing work with like Restore and Access to Home that we approved applications for at last month's committee. But this would be for approximately $400,000 in home rehab funds. We'd like to do this in a similar way that we're doing our current round of Restore funding, in which we partner with an existing community organization, someone like North Country Rural Development or Rebuilding Together Saratoga County. And these are folks that have like a staff that's really a lot of experience administering and delivering home rehab projects. We leverage those partnerships because they're able to use CDBG funds and some of these other homes and community renewal funds a little bit faster and more flexibly than we can with the county processes of like committee, board approval, and then all of our procurement purchasing policies. So we plan on leveraging the partnership for the CDBG home rehab program.
What's up?
When we need to know when the public hearing, what meeting do you want to hold this public hearing at?
As soon as
Do you
the
as soon as
August, I would say at the August
Can't have it in August, you'd be having it in September.
September then. Okay,
Set
yeah,
it for September?
yeah, it's in September.
And we do need to vote.
Yeah, so the resolution would go to the board, setting the public hearing for the September meeting, so yes.
Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion to bring that? Mr. Bean on the first and Mr. Wild on the second. Any discussion on scheduling a public hearing for this purpose? Call the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that carries. Going into discussion items, EDC is not with us today. Any project updates or grant updates you want to share?
We're in the thick of hitting our deadlines for submittal of July 31st. So we're working with various departments and municipalities to, have all of our projects scoped appropriately. So our office is gonna be pretty busy for the next couple of weeks on that. We're also starting next round of applications for the Adirondack Smart Growth Program. This was announced, I think, about a week and a half ago. It's very beneficial for the Adirondack communities because its geography is limited to the Adirondacks and there's no match required. You benefit from having a match. But it's funded all sorts of interesting projects. So as you all have municipal projects of interest in the Adirondack Park, reach out to our department. We also have a number of projects in the hopper from our various plans. First Wilderness Plan, then Stony Creek has got some activities around Dean Farm. I wanted to get picked up on, but yeah, reach out to our office. We're happy to help you put together an application for that. Additionally, the Northern Borders Regional Commission has the Catalyst program coming back out again. That's another great opportunity to go after federal funds. If the match is the same as the last round, it's 80% federal fund, 20% local for a variety of infrastructure, community development projects. So that's exciting. We anticipate resubmitting for the fish hatchery for, I think, now the third time. It's a great project. It's all been scoped out. And then the other grant opportunity that I want folks to pay attention to is the county infrastructure program. Last year, I think we put it together a one-pager. We reached out to the supervisors and we looked at our capital project inventory to find infrastructure projects that were either direct county infrastructure or municipal infrastructure. I think it was perhaps earlier in the spring, we had the discussion about supporting a North Creek Sewer District or Lake George infrastructure expansion, supportive housing, both great projects. In that same vein, we anticipate that this round of funding will be very similar to the last one, in which there's $500,000 for infrastructure projects related to general community development, and that it's very broad, the $500,000 cap, and that can include things like, tourism, recreation, community spaces, you name it. But then to hit the $1 million threshold, you have to have a housing component to it. That's a big part of the state budget. So we have to do some documentation of the housing that will be prompted through that grant. So that's going to be out. We can recirculate the one pager that we prepared earlier this year. And just if you have things that are at the front burner, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
The $1 million, the guidelines are the same at this round of funding. Or
We are in.
Yeah, is
we're
it
anticipating.
public or municipal? Can Bro still submit? I know he submitted, but he's asking to submit through the town.
I don't see that he would necessarily be barred from it. We've been in pretty close contact with that project, and one of the parameters of it, and I think they'd be okay, was as long as the funds aren't under contract at the time of application and award.
Okay,
So yeah, so we can talk to you about that. And we're also, just as a side note, we're working with that project through the Pro Housing Supply Program.
Yeah.
They're pursuing, up to $2.5 million for infrastructure enhancements to that site. And again, that's a great funding source, it's limited to big ticket projects. So the project minimum is $2.5 million. And then you have to have a $2.5 million match on top of that. So that you're looking at least a $5 million project. It's a great opportunity, but in our area, the size of housing projects and that we can do, particularly at Adirondack Park, like it's pretty limited.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're looking at that. That's also due on July 31st.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, so, thank you, Chair. One of the other, sort of, cut me off if we're running out of time, but one of the other projects that we're submitting for funding through the Empire State Development Strategic Planning and Feasibility Study Fund is for the Hudson River Rail Corridor. The Warren County Outdoor Recreation Economy Strategic Plan, I would use the acronym, but I think it would confuse everyone. One of the 6 key projects in that was to look at the future use of the railway. Back in 2019, I believe it was, the county had started the abandonment process, but since that process was halted due to some regulatory issues with the northern leg of the railway involving the sort of the North Creek to DeHaas line, we abandoned that process of abandonment. And we've now entered into a really productive relationship with Rev Rail. They bring a lot of visitors to our area. They're utilizing our infrastructure. It's a really fantastic way to get, visitors out into the upcounty area in like a very like sanctioned, comfortable way, as opposed to someone doing like a really extreme outdoor activity. However, the purpose of this study that we want to do is to look, so the time horizon being like, 10 years in the future, 5 years in the future, 15 years in the future, to understand this 40-mile right-of-way that we own. It's a great asset, but and many times it's also a liability, right? It's, there's maintenance considerations. So we'd like to go through this process. It's about $100,000 project we have scoped out to evaluate probably 4 or 5 different alternative futures or alternative scenarios for the railway, including things like a no action scenario, a long continuing leases with these like rail bike providers or other recreational providers, transference of the railroad to some other entity, whether it's like New York State or Open Space Institute. Again, these are just, I'm throwing things out here. This process has to take place. Or, just long-term holding by the county is something for a trail. Again, those are just a few. Don't take these scenarios and think like, oh, we're looking at just these scenarios. The project would be about $100,000. 25% of the project would be for like a regulatory review. Rail law is pretty complex. I think anyone that was part of the abandonment process understood that like the Surface Transportation Board rules, the process of abandonment. I'm looking at Larry. So there's a handful of lawyers that really know rail law. So 25% would be the regulatory review. Another 25% of the project would be like a desktop engineering evaluation. It wouldn't be like a full structural evaluation of each asset that we have along the railway. That would cost an incredible amount of money, and our DPW maintains a lot of that already. So we'd look at what are the actual built assets that we have on the rail, and then the other 50% of this grant would be working with the different stakeholders, and sort of evaluating the economic impacts of each of these different alternative uses of the railway. And the result would be a handful of alternatives that weigh the regulatory and the financial implications, and as well as like the economic opportunities or liabilities associated with each of those alternatives, and then present that to the Board of Supervisors to help inform, hey, what do we do with this asset going forward? It's pretty deliberate, but I'm hoping that will provide just general guidance, because it's a pretty significant asset that we own, and it's a pretty big financial liability as well. Any thoughts on that at all, or?
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ethan, when's about Rev Rail? They do bring a lot of tourists, they bring, they have, I think the second highest, staff in that region. What do they, have for these payments and what does it cost us to maintain the rails that they use? So what's our deficit really is what I'm looking at.
I can't speak to that. That's a question for DPW, Public Works.
Ethan? Mr. Administrator?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Right now, the lease payment is $100,000 a year. Last year, as you recall, we had to pay 600,000 plus. I think it was $673,000 in repairs to the rail line. It's a Class 3 rail line. We are required under the agreement we have through the various different transportation organizations to maintain it at that level. And so that's, it's going to be something that we're going to continually do if we have washouts, if we have requirements. Then one of the challenges we've had is we haven't been able to inspect the rail line. And DPW has purchased called a sidecar, a truck you can get on the rail line, and now they can go up and down and inspect the rail line and hopefully head off challenges associated with that. There's no doubt our partnership with RevRail is phenomenal. They bring a lot of tourists into the agency, into the county. They have a lot of agreements now with the tubers and the whitewater rafters and even the steamships, where people can participate in various activities. And I think it's a great thing for us. But looking forward, like Ethan said, 5, 10, 15 years from now, are we going to continue to maintain this rail line? Transition to a multi-purpose or multi-use trail has been successful recently in Essex County, from Albany South along a lot of these lines. It's a good tourist draw, or it seems to be. So we just want to see what other options we have for this.
Sure, of course, just as a follow-up, the 670,000 that we pay for repairs. That isn't just RevRail, that's the whole line, right?
That's the whole line. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And just as another clarifying point, because I know in the past, there had been some interest groups that were, promoting the total conversion, the rail line into a multi-use trail, and versus some other groups saying, hey, we only have to use this for rail. I don't think that it's it's not like an either or scenario necessarily. I think there could certainly be alternatives explored where it's like, hey, we have this really successful tourism attraction. Like, can you have that coexist with other alternative uses? So it's not black or white. And I just want to make sure that this isn't like, oh, we're trying to chase RevRail off our rail line, because we do really appreciate the activities that they're providing in the county.
Okay. I have another follow-up for.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask if he was talking about infrastructure earlier, if you as LDC chair wanted to share our $250,000 decision. It's public, right? Apparently not.
$250,000 for.
Infrastructure.
Oh, infrastructure. Yeah, well, the LDC has met and we've had well over $1 million in our fund that we have not been able to really use because of COVID and interest rates and everything else. It's starting to change. We've done some investments in terms of CDs. So we have 2 funds now, one to support housing development within the Blue Line and outside of the Blue Line. And we also have a $250,000 fund that may be used for infrastructure for the various towns. Obviously, this is a program that we're piloting right now, but there are some funds available for the towns and municipalities to look forward to some infrastructure plays.
If I might, with that fund, just thinking long-term, a lot of these infrastructure projects in our capital project inventory, some of these are in concept phase, some of these have preliminary engineering, some of these have advanced engineering. and at every step of the way, there's different funding sources that allow us to move those projects forward. You know, could this LDC fund be used to match for state grants that would advance, you know, engineering studies and
The thought isn't to just grant the money away and not have a return. It's more of kind of like a loan fund.
Mhm.
Right, to be able to help whatever project that might be coming in the future, to help kickstart it. To make those things happen so that the match issues become less of an issue as you go forward.
So conceivably you could I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
So conceivably you could tap into it for the purposes of matching funds for a grant and then pay back, work out an arrangement with LDC to pay back that match as it goes.
Yeah, over, a year or two, whatever it takes to get that initial project moving forward. Yes, that's part of the thought.
Cool.
But it's
Great.
still conceptual, so I
Right.
just want to let everybody know there are some funds available. We just have to work out the details, but we definitely want to support infrastructure going forward.
Have you guys figured out what the interest rate you're gonna loan the money at
I
in
know,
terms?
Jack, but I don't think it's gonna be something that's predatory by any means, right? We want to be able to make it advantageous. To move
Kind of like
forward.
gap financing, right?
Yeah, kind
If
of.
I go to the
But-
bank, I can't get the
But
money, I come here. and
we might be able to do better than the bank.
borrow.
Because the thought is to help move our economy forward. Right.
And if asked the question, what type of infrastructure projects are you looking at? What types are you looking at?
Kind of like what's going on up in Johnsburg and
Oh,
North
okay.
Creek with the sewer.
Okay,
It could be water, it could be wastewater.
okay,
All
right.
It could be other issues that we need to help move forward to keep our economy growing in the right direction.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, that would do a lot for our housing situation. I mean, essentially, one of the largest barriers in the upcounty areas is infrastructure, right? In all of our hamlet areas, we're allowed to have the most development. The limiting factor, aside from maybe local land use regulations, is infrastructure. So that could be really beneficial.
And the housing fund that we have is more redevelopment, kind of going through the planning boards, going through the approval processes. Just to help kind of break down some of the barriers and make it easier for people to come into the region and help with workforce housing.
Great.
You have another comment,
Sure.
Mr.?
Well, I do, and Ethan, this is for you, but sometimes I struggle to explain the benefits of what the planning organization does. So you put in a lot of applications, you bring us a lot of money, there's a certain match we have to come up with, you do all sorts of work. Is there any way that we can get a summary every month or every quarter to say, this is what our planning department has submitted, this is our wins, this is how much we have, this is what our match is like? And the value that you provide for us to be able to get the federal funds and state funds to help us move forward is, I think, significant. And I think it would help us just when we go out to the public, just kind of make sure that everybody understands the true value of what you guys are able to do for us.
Yeah, I mean, I can work with our committee chair in advance of our committee meetings to get it in a format that he deems.
Yeah, I'm not looking
Yeah.
to put you guys out and.
No, yep, no, I don't do that. I think there's a lot of value in that. Or else I'm just gonna sit here and talk for a while, right? It's a one page is a lot easier. Yeah.
Right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
On that note, I want to say, congratulations on getting a $975,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our team, you know.
For
It's-
me, I was on the fence with that $2.5 million rock tax. I definitely was, and that was one thing in the back of our mind was, could Ethan and other grant ninjas get this grant or the regional planning board? You came through in a huge way, so it's.
Yeah,
two to go.
You weren't done yet, right?
Department.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's all about a team effort. I mean, it's nice to be recognized for our work, but we got a whole group of people over there that are working really hard. And our partners too, we work with regional planning board. At times, partner with the EDC on stuff. So there's a whole network of people making these things happen. It's not any one department.
John.
Any other discussion items? Any public comment? Motion to adjourn? Mr. Bean, Mr. Wild, all in favor?
Aye.
I look forward to Development.
His Shepherd.
Meetings we've had in a while.
You gotta make up.
If